Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 8th edition of Cinema Effect. This was actually easy to remember this week because the film's title is quite appropriate for that. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by my fellow Hans Zimmer appreciator, Jaden.
Hello.
That was a nice little soft hello.
Was it? Yeah, no, I saw it. Yeah, sorry. I should have said it louder.
It's all good. It's all good. And I'm also joined by JC, John Cena, Jesus Christ, whatever, JC, Liam. I'm trying it out.
Okay. Hello.
Excellent. Yeah. I mean, who suggested that? Was that you that suggested that one, Fitzy? Was that you or? Oh no, Jaden suggested it, I think.
JC.
He suggested the JC.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just referred to you as Jesus, so we can't really top that, to be honest. Anyway, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single week. The show posts every Monday. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You know the drill. Please subscribe. If you enjoy the show, rate it. That'd be awesome. And you can submit your questions, thoughts, reviews for next week's film to us in the YouTube comments section. And of course, we have our what do you call it? Our signature question of the week, I guess, for you to write in about. We'll read them at the end of the show as always. And this week we're asking you what your favorite superhero movie is. So I mean, everyone's got a favorite superhero movie. You know, there's too many of them these days, that's for sure. So you got no excuse. Please write in about your favorite superhero movie. We're desperate for your answers. Thank you in advance. This week's movie I'm super interested in talking about. This might be one of my most anticipated conversations on the show, honestly. And that's because we're doing the film 8.5. And I had never heard of this movie at all. But both of you guys, when we were talking about what we're going to do, suggested this. So this was both on your radars, obviously. Is this like a well-regarded movie that you just kind of had always heard about or something?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I first heard about it in Mandel and the Dying Girl. You know how
Yes.
the main character spoofs films. He created one of the parodies he made was Ate Half My Lunch. So like that's when it first came onto my radar. But since then, becoming more involved, not involved rather, because I'm still not involved. Becoming more interested in like films and stuff. I have heard it mentioned around and stuff.
Have you guys heard of the They Make Movies, Don't They list?
No? What's this?
It's this like list of the 1,000 greatest films of all time, decided by like thousands of critic polls and critic answers and stuff like that.
Oh, right.
And it's like, I think first there's like Vertigo or Citizen Kane, and 8.5 came in like 6th this year in the last couple of years. So
do they? What is this list updated regularly?
I think yearly. Yeah.
Not
sure though.
Interesting. God, that's pretty high. Cool. All right. Well, yeah. No, like I said, I'd never heard of it at all. So yeah, I was taken aback by doing this one. But hey, we're going all in. We're doing a black and white film. We're doing a foreign film.
It's old as well.
I just hated it by default. No. Okay, let's get into the data dump and we'll highlight just how old it is because the film opened in Italy on the 16th of February. Oh my God, I actually said 2000 out of habit then. 1963, nowhere near 2000. The film was directed by Federico Fellini. It was also written by him and, oh my God, here we go. This is Ennio Flaiano. Nailed it. Anyway, yeah, it is what it is. Oh Lord. Okay, now I've got to do the actors, dude. This is a disaster. Okay. The film stars Marcello Mastroianni. Sorry, guys, bear with me here. Claudia Cardinale, and
that one's Claudia, isn't
Amy. Holy shit, you're right. That was actually a situation where, like, my brain thought it had to be more complicated than it was. You know. So there you go. Yeah. Anyway, and what's the last one? Sandra Milo. I'm just gonna say Milo. Great. I'm sorry I put you guys through this every week. I'm really sorry. The film won Best Foreign Film at the 1964 Academy Awards. There is zero information that I was able to find to indicate what its budget was, so that's fun. It has a worldwide box office of $133,000. Although I assume that doesn't, take into account like rentals and all that shit, like how vast majority of people these days would have watched it, or probably of all time ever watched it. The film has a runtime of 2 hours and 18 minutes, and I don't know if you noticed this, Fitzy, but our version that I assume you watched it on Stan?
Yeah, well, I watch a bit of it on Stan and a bit on something else, but yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay. Well, our Stan version was not 2 hours and 18 minutes anyway. I watched it was 2 hours and 10 minutes, so I don't know if I watched some kind of reduced version or something, but there you go. Anyway, synopsis. A harried movie director retreats into his memories and fantasies. That's a nice little synopsis there. I like it. That's one of the most effective synopsises I think I've ever read. So there you go. Good for them. Fitzy, kick us off. What are your general thoughts on 8.5?
I thought it was okay. I was like, I don't know, I was bored by some parts, interested by others, and I don't know, I think I was mainly bored by the more filmmaking parts and interested in the more biographical or the parts of his life that involved his relationships and women and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I don't completely know like what to think about it yet. I don't think, but there's a lot to talk about, I guess.
I'm kind of with Fissy in that I don't know how to feel about it, but I'm much more on like the higher end of the spectrum of not knowing how to feel, because like I do like it, I really really like it, but then like I'm not sure how much I do like it at the same time, because there are some things that take me back, but there's also some things that just propel it to another level. So I don't know. I do really like the film though. I can definitely say that.
Okay. I thought this movie sucked, to be perfectly honest. I didn't enjoy anything about it.
Yeah.
And I thought, I just don't get it at all, to be perfectly honest. Like, I'm not even talking about like the narrative and what's actually occurring in the movie. I think unless we delve into the levels I was never aware of, I think I get that fine. I just don't understand how it is well regarded in any way. I think it's a boring movie for starters. Like naturally, like you mentioned, Fitzy, I think the story's just uninteresting. The story doesn't really evolve in an interesting way at all. Perhaps until maybe the last I don't know, few minutes, maybe potentially. And even that's kind of questionable, I guess. I there are little things I appreciate, but I think where the first 10 minutes of the movie did a really good job, I think, of getting me interested. I was like, okay, the cool dream sequence at the start was kind of bizarre and out there, and I really liked that. And then we get introduced to kind of what's happening. This guy's making this film, and that's cool. And we kind of he becomes more and more stressed out, and as everything, all this shit, crazy shit's kind of going on around him, he's getting bombarded by everyone. And I thought as that was kind of getting introduced, that was cool. But then it just kind of never went anywhere. It was just that the whole time. I feel like I got every bit of information that I needed as the audience member in the first 10 minutes of the movie, and then the rest didn't really add anything, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, that's how I felt. This is cool, though. I'm actually surprised we're kind of all in this, seem to be sort of like in a tiered sort of structure on our opinion here. Like Jaden's on the higher end, Fitzy doesn't know, and I'm kind of on the lower.
Yeah, well,
so that's cool.
I did absolutely hate the first half. Like, I thought it was complete shit in the first half, but then, I don't know, there were kind of elements where, there were meta elements where they almost addressed the aimlessness of the movie, so I kind of felt more engaged when that started to happen in the second half, and started to think, oh, well, maybe it's some of the things I'm not enjoying are part of the point, maybe, but I'm still like not sure.
What when you say that, are those particular scenes, particular dream sequences, or elements that make you say that? Like, what do you think kind of shows that in the movie?
No, not the dream sequences really, but like there are different conversations he has with people talking about like the movie he's making itself and how it kind of references this movie, like how it's like vague and you know you can't just assume people will know what you're talking about, and it has to have a central conflict or something. So yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I get that. That's a good point. Yeah.
But I did just like on a like base level just enjoy some of the dream sequences and the fantasies in there in the second half as well, and some in the first half. But yeah.
Okay. Well, I do think, yeah, I think the dream sequences are easily like the parts of the film that stand out the most because um, the actual production process that is kind of happening in real life in real time. Like I mentioned, nothing really happens. It's kind of like there's there's the bit where they go and do the screen tests and they look at that, and that's kind of something different, I guess. But for the most part, I feel like they're just kind of wandering around the hotel, or whatever it is, the spa or whatever, and just kind of having these same conversations. They go to the launch pad set, which is cool. But yeah, no, I think the dream sequences are kind of where the film stands out the most. Um, do you guys have a favorite one or one that's kind of stands out um, to make the most sense or that works the best for the story for you guys at all?
Well,
kind of a weird question, but
I don't really have a standout because like I did really like the film, so like I think most of them were I think most of like the sequences, whether dreams, memories, or real time, I thought they were all really great. I did think in the first half, I think it certainly there were at times when I thought it was boring. But I think it all comes around in the end, and it kind of all just works as because it kind of just builds upon itself, and I don't know. So like, in terms of having like a favorite sequence, not really. Like, I think they're all really cool.
did you really like the first one, Jane? Like when he's stuck in the car in traffic? Because I thought that was a really cool way to open the movie.
Yeah, I was. I mean, like I was confused immediately, like off the bat. But that was the intent at first. But yeah, no, it is really. I think it sets the movie up well for like what's going to ensue and like kind of like the idea that's going to come across, especially with the whole thing about how he's floating over the ocean and he gets yanked down by like his producers or whoever they are, and it's kind of how it's those people drag him back down to the reality that he wants to ignore and leave behind and stuff. So I think that first dream sequence works really well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And actually, on the topic of that sequence, I was like, I didn't know what I was looking at when they have the shot of like the bus and the people in it. What was I looking at? Were the people upside down or something?
Yeah, I do know the shot you're talking about. I'm not really sure if there was any intent behind that other than just to,
Yeah,
amp up the I don't know, the surrealism of it.
I guess. Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of creeped me out, so I guess it worked. Yeah, I do like the first 10 minutes of the movie. I really like that scene. Like I just said, does creep me out. It was kind of disturbing and weird, in a good way. And then he kind of wakes up in his room, and I like the use of the what is it, Flight of the Valkyries. It's just kind of as everything's going to chaos around him, and everyone constantly trying to get attention. And it does do a good job of making you really feel, kind of like you put in your shoes in some way, like you're just being bombarded by all this bullshit around you that you just want to friggin' ignore. Just get the hell out of here. I think actually, honestly, one of the most peculiar things about the film, especially, to anyone who hasn't seen it, like I hadn't, or like none of us had, but is the title of the movie. And I kind of just want to, I'll just chuck in some trivia to explain it. The title refers to the number of movies Federico Fellini has directed up until that point. He directed 6 features, 2 shorts, and co-directed a film, for a total of 8.5 films. So the title, therefore, is kind of super meta, I guess. Just basically just, obviously, just with the amount of movies he's made. So, but then I've kind of seen also in the trivia section that the film's kind of in some way quite autobiographical of the director's own life. And that was kind of a weird part of it where I feel like I'm just kind of watching this filmmaker. He made this film and this story just kind of about his own weird crisis, Is that I guess that's the point?
I think if we were familiar with like his other films prior to watching this, it probably would have made more sense and probably would have been more appropriate to, we would have been able to apply, the filmmaker's story and the we would have been able to compare the filmmaker and the main character together, and we would have been able to see more clearly. But I still think you can go into it without really knowing too much, and I think it still works all fine.
Do you guys when I say that I don't really feel that the story evolves or the characters really evolve, mainly the main character, kind of in the movie. Do you guys disagree with that?
No, not really. I don't know. I think the film is, it's about the making of the film that's happening. So it's just kind of, yeah, I don't know. It's just like kind of about him and not really some kind of story. But yeah, I don't know.
You definitely see an involvement and evolvement. Is that a word? I don't know. You definitely see his character evolve because, like, while his personality and his demeanor may not change much, it's the way the way of his thinking. That that's what changes. So like, although his personality stays the same, he's still this eccentric and rather self-centered, and he's not a great guy, and he's still not the best guy at the end of the film, but he understands that, and he's letting that his understanding of that kind of lets him it frees him.
I saw at the end that he kind of had that some kind of realization, but like, what is it that he realizes? Do you think?
Well, he says doesn't he say like true happiness is being being able to not lie. Wait, what is it, Finney? I've forgotten already. Because he says it's something about telling the truth.
Lie, but it's something like that.
Right, and then him making this movie is kind of about the truth of his process in his life. That kind of makes sense. Like he's putting himself out there in terms of how, like, the process for this film and his like stuff that happened in his life, I guess.
Look, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was really hoping that you two enjoyed this film because I wasn't looking because I was like relying on like jumping off your ideas that you guys said, and I was like, it's like kind of panicking now. Fuck, what's it all mean?
Well, hey, I mean, I'm interested in kind of trying to figure out those answers too because, well, I guess you jumped into the end, Fitzy. Let's do it. So at the end, basically, he kind of has another dream sequence and he kind of shoots himself in the head. He kind of shoots himself in the head. He straight up shoots himself in the head. And that in some way, I guess, symbolizes, him waking up, the realization that you're talking about. And then he kind of goes on to direct the movie, I guess, because we have the kind of interesting circus bit at the end, and he's shouting instructions, and he has a few more dialogue bits and pieces, like you mentioned. But like he makes the movie, right? Am I wrong about that?
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Right. I was kind of convinced that he does. That's kind of the ending. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if it's just symbolic or what, but I guess if he does make the movie at the end, you can kind of see, like, actually 8.5 as a movie that he makes, because it's like about him.
So, but with that in mind, though, like I feel like the movie's only, what I said, my version was only 2 hours and 10 minutes, and that's obviously not very long, not overly long, and I was just, this movie felt like it would not end for me. I was just like, Jesus Christ. I feel like it kind of felt like I was sitting there for 4 hours, to be honest. But anyway, so, and then with that in mind, I guess all I'm saying is that I feel like there's a good hour of the movie, probably more, that just I didn't get anything out of. I think the first, like I've mentioned, the introduction's cool. The way, all the pieces kind of put on the table about his situation, you feel that pressure. And then I feel like you can kind of just cut straight to the ending. Like, I don't really know how much a lot of the scenes just throughout really add to it. Especially when I feel like there are some dream sequences that are kind of redundant. Like, there's the interesting one where he basically starts, I don't know, he's at some kind of get together or something. He kind of walks in the snow, which is weird. But then he starts, whipping everyone around him. I kind of obviously took that as taking out his frustration on everything and how over it he is, and that's cool, I guess. But I feel like the rest of the movie had already, up to that point, an hour and a half beforehand, communicated that perfectly. Like, I didn't really need that. So I guess what I'm saying is I feel like this could have been a cool short film.
I don't think, like, I think you're right, him taking out frustration in that film, but I mean in that sequence. But I saw it more as just him, it's just an example of his controlling nature and how he wants, this harem of women, and for them to all adore him. And I think it's just more of I think it's just a better insight into his mind. And he talks about how he latches onto everyone and he wants to love everyone because he's scared that he might miss the wrong path. So I kind of see that, in that scene, of him just collecting everything, hoping that something comes about of it. And, when it does start to go, a bit awry, he does, you see this really controlling and dominating and, this, bad, bad's such a shit word. You see this really, dark side of him, come out when he is whipping and trying to order everything. Although it's played lightheartedly, it's not, this great characteristic to have. But I think that's a really cool sequence, and I think it shows more than just his frustration, but it shows, the way he attaches himself to everything.
Personally, I think the whole movie is kind of like a dive into his mind, the actual director's mind and the character's mind. But yeah, that was definitely my favorite fantasy sequence as well, with all the women, and when they get old they go upstairs or whatever, and you get the Bumble flight of the Valkyries. But yeah.
So you guys keep on saying that you like the dream sequences, but so did none of the real world stuff really interest you at all? Or because I some of my favorite parts were the real world.
Yeah, I was definitely interested by the relationships and stuff in the real world, but the director stuff kind of annoyed me.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Fitzy. I mean, yeah, the real world stuff didn't overly interest me. What was some of your favorite parts of that?
I'm not really sure what to call it. Like that night in the garden where all the actresses they're asking him what's my role, and the press are there asking how he feels about the film, and it's kind of like that just garden event, whatever you want to call it. Like it's such a I don't know. I think that's one of my favorite things, because I think that's where one of the best parts, where it shows how maddening it is, because it is just this endless bombardment, and I think that scene depicts it in one of the best ways. Not to mention that it's really gorgeously shot. I mean, I think the entire film is really, really visually beautiful and stunning. But I think in that scene as well, especially just with the dancing sequence as well, where they're doing the twist, there's that moment as well as at the table, and then when the magician comes, everything in that scene just gels so well. I feel.
I think I do agree that the movie's well shot generally. But a question I don't know if you know the answer to this, Jane, but because colored cameras, God, I sound like such a such a dumbass. But colored cameras exist at this time, right? So what's up with the black and white? Is it a choice? Is it a stylistic choice?
I'm not sure if it's budgetary or stylistic, but if it is stylistic, I think it's definitely benefited the film, because I don't think you'd get the same. It definitely wouldn't feel the same had it been colored, because I mean, at this point, colored cameras had been around for quite a while. That's why the Oscars had two categories for colored films and black and white films. So I'm not sure why there was a choice, but I think the film definitely benefited from being in black and white, just personally, because I know, with, obviously if there was colors, you'd be able to tell a lot of things more and clearly and shit. But I love the harshness of the whites and the darkness of the blacks, and how contrasting and stark it is. I think it really just works so well.
Yeah, I don't dislike that the film's in black and white or anything. But I do find it difficult to appreciate the visual elements that you're talking about just because of it. I'm so used to just watching everything in color that I feel like images don't really pop as much, and I find it difficult to know impressive kind of shots and cool looking shit when I see it in black and white. My brain doesn't really register it as obviously, I guess.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I guess that's just personal choice, just personal taste, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, in my opinion, I think it just amplifies everything, especially in real world, because I think the real world, it's because of how it has this sense of grittiness almost. It detracts from this. I think if you inject color in it, depending on how you style it, it can give the entire thing the streamlined feel. So I feel like having the real world in black and white was important. So had the entire film been colored, I think it would have been poor. But I think black and white is definitely the way to go.
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like the real world was more black, and then and the fantasies were more white. They kind of made that contrast, but
Oh, really?
Did you find that?
I didn't notice it particularly. Did you, Jaden?
No, I didn't pay particular attention to that. Just going on like the real world sequences that I love. I love towards the end of the film when Claudia comes from the screen test and she picks him up and they go driving, and when they get to that location, like I'm not entirely sure what it is. It's just like some backstreet, whatever it is. But I think that's I think it just comes across so well on camera, like just like the set and the way that the actors use it and the way that it becomes it's this little haven for him. He says I do quite like it here, but then the producers come and they kind of they invade his haven, and I don't know. I think that's something. It's another part that I really enjoyed.
Is Claudia in the film earlier, except for that one scene where she's like all in white at that place?
I don't think so. I think she just pops up in every now and then as like in like those type of little things until the end of the film.
Okay. Well, who's she supposed to be? I guess
his new muse. I think because she's kind of the new person that he's been infatuated with, because he just kind of imagines her here and there, and like her face appears on random people. I think it's kind of his new muse.
Was that just like a good stylistic choice for you, or was it symbolic of something about the character?
I don't know. I guess it like because it kind of can serve both ways, just depending on your interpretation, I guess. But I kind of see it as well, it is a very meta film, and so with Claudia being his new sense of inspiration, that's kind of all it is. It's just this new. It's just she's what's reinvigorating his creative, ideals.
Right.
So whether you can whether there's a real world Claudia or whether it's just something for the film, I'm not sure, but I think it definitely it's just kind of that thing of where ideas and inspiration can be drawn from for film.
I'm glad you mentioned Claudia because I was going to mention it too. Does the final kind of moment, shoot the gun to the head, shooting yourself in the head, and then the ending, do you guys think it's him kind of just, to put it very bluntly, obviously, and very simply, just getting over it, Because that's kind of all I saw it as, but I feel like there might be more to it.
I feel like he's finally realized that he can make a film which says nothing. An 8.5 is that film.
Sorry, just to cut in on an earlier point. I just remember now that Zach, you said he completes the film, but I don't think he does, because his producer or his critic friend, whoever it is at the end, he's saying, for producers, this is a loss of money to not make a film, but to not make a film as a director is the best thing for us, because if you make a bad film, that's the end of you. So I don't think they do make the film. And I think that end sequence where he's shouting orders, that's just something for himself, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I don't know. That end scene is so bizarre that it kind of just melds all the dream sequences, the real shit, all of it just kind of together in this weird, super symbolic way that I don't know if, I don't know. I don't even know if it can be really understood. It's just kind of bizarre. But that's an interesting point then. So if he doesn't make the movie, I guess it kind of achieves the same sort of character moment, I guess, that he just kind of lets go, and then hence, just not directing the movie is just kind of a repercussion of that, I guess.
I think him shooting himself in the head is just it very much is him just killing this entire production. It's just him wanting it done. So yeah, it is a getting over type of thing.
I just don't think that this movie tells a story that is in any way engaging to me anyway. Like with that kind of short ending explanation or whatever, it's about this guy at the end of the day who's making this movie. He's under a lot of pressure. He's lost focus. He's lost in the creative process. He's having these personal kind of issues, with relationship issues with those around him. He's kind of caught up in these fantasy scenarios with these people. And then at the end, he just decides, oh, no, I'm just not going to make the movie anymore. This shit sucks. And saying, okay, great. Like, I don't know. Like, I never want to downplay something. I never want to just, I guess, which I just did, but I never want to deliberately try and summarize something in a way that makes it sound dumber than it is. But I don't know. That's kind of all I took away from the movie. And then as a result, I'm just kind of left with, oh, great.
He never wanted to make the film, though. because it's not something he started and lost interest in. It's something that it was forced upon him from the start, just because he was at the peak of his career, and everyone was just pressuring him. What's going to happen next, and I think he kind of used the production as an excuse for him to try and like gather his ideas about how he feels in his life, and I think that's what the screen test part shows, because it's obviously dialogue drawn from him and his wife, and like it's inspired by that. So I think the film was kind of used as a as a tool for him to collect himself and to like draw all of this together. So it's not so much of him starting it and then just losing sight. It's just he never wanted it and just took advantage of it to benefit himself.
I mean, yeah, no, that's a good point. I appreciate you kind of look at it on that level. I just wish I saw it that way, or in the moment anyway. I wish as I was watching it, I kind of, and then even looking back afterwards, I kind of could think upon it with that depth. Whereas, yeah, I don't know. All I got is, yeah, sure, like, no, you're right. You're 100% right. He didn't seem to really want to make the movie at all. He had no idea. He mentions hundreds of times that he doesn't know what he's trying to say. He doesn't know what he's doing. And all that. And that's evident again in the screen test. But okay, so then I guess I just feel like I'm left with a guy that didn't want to make a movie. He's kind of frustrated making the movie, lost making the movie, and and then like I said, decides not to make the movie. Okay, the end. Like, I don't know.
The fact that there is no action, or there is no real story, is that it is just a character study film, so it doesn't really require those elements.
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just don't find the story interesting. I guess it's just kind of the easiest way to say it.
Right.
But I guess for obviously other people find it super interesting, and you're obviously looking at it in a way that I'm not, or that I couldn't really, just because I was so bored. So, but yeah, no, that's cool though. I hadn't thought of it that way. Though.
Well, at the start, I can also say I was pretty bored, and like the way I watched the film, it was kind of interrupted, because I did watch the first 20 minutes before I had to be pulled away for something else, and then came back. And in in that time, I watched the majority of it, and I think it was that short break that made me probably appreciate it more, because in that next hour and a half, or so how long I watched it, I think that's kind of where I kind of that's kind of where my appreciation for it grew.
Another kind of just random little question, like the black and white one I have. What's up with do you guys know what's going on with kind of the random lines of English that are just in there every now and again? Like, I feel like every 15 minutes someone will just say something in English, like a whole line of dialogue, and then it just kind of out of nowhere. I don't really understand.
It's just foreign press and foreign actors and actresses and agents wanting to be involved in the production, because he's such a renowned director that he's kind of drawing attention worldwide. So it's just people. It is just people, like it is just Americans or English or whatever they are.
Yeah, no, I got that, but those characters still speak Italian a shitload of the time, though.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I guess I think it's just them swapping back and forth. I don't know. They're just bilingual characters.
I guess, yeah. I don't know. I just thought it was weird from like a production perspective to have these some just like 1 in 100 lines just in English. But yeah, no, that makes sense. You're right about that thing with the foreign press though, and they are of course the journalists and along with the producers and the someone who was like revising his script, I guess a script reader or something. With they were other elements that are putting pressure on him as well at the beginning or throughout.
With the dialogue as well, obviously it's foreign, so we had to read the subtitles. But at least typically the audio and the visuals are synced. But because Fellini, he apparently never really worked with a fully polished script. So quite often, a lot of the dialogue he went and rewrote in post-production. So when they were dubbing the voices, it didn't match what was on screen anyway. So that was something with me.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Even though I couldn't understand it, it still didn't match up, and I was like, oh, fucking.
Yeah, exactly. Even it's, obviously we don't speak Italian, but I could see it too. It was kind of bothering me.
Yeah. Also, because with not recording sound on set. Do you have any trivia about how he would often play music in the scenes? Is that something you've got?
No. That makes sense.
I think it might have been somewhere else. I read that then. But he'd often play music in the scenes. So quite often the movements of the characters were this choreographed to be almost this dance like thing. and it kind of fluidizes their movements, especially in like the dream sequence and the the memories and stuff. So well, music often is just played, just in the scene anyway, just if there's a band or whatever. But if there was none of that, he'd just play music and he'd get his actors to move along to that to kind of give it this extra fluid feeling.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I guess another element that's kind of mentioned a lot is the nature of the protagonist of this movie that he's making. Which by the way, the movie's meant to be like some kind of space movie, which is weird, but I found that kind of interesting. But how the main character of that movie is like Catholic, like himself, and then of course we get some flashbacks to his childhood and those weird that beach dream was weird. But then
that was a memory, wasn't it? Not a dream.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. It was I guess so. But was it actually a memory in the sense of is it based on something that happened to him?
Yeah, I think it's because he's a child. Like elements are played up. I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
So like there's certain things that aren't exact, but like so like I was reading that one of the paintings, for example, is like absolutely massive when it's not really, like just as like one example of like
Right.
an element that has been changed, but it is mostly a memory that's been exaggerated.
And that kind of I don't know, like to his youth, that kind of element of him being Catholic seems to be important in some way. The priest, the main thing I kind of took away from that at least was the connection to the happiness thread in the movie that the priest mentions, like a life without being not dedicating your life to God or whatever he said is not you're not going to be happy or whatever. Is there any other kind of connection that the Catholic stuff brings? Do you think any other level of depth?
I think Fellini again is just trying to put things in about his life into the movie. But other than that, I'm not really sure.
Doesn't his script advisor or whoever that character is, he brings up the fact that he's trying to include this Catholic arc into his story, but it has no real meaning to it because he doesn't have to take a hardline stance on whether it's a positive or a negative thing, and I kind of just see that as the protagonist, he's adding another factor of his life to try and figure out how it affected him.
He's in the process of trying to make the movie, which is with the 8.5 as a movie, you can see him making, like the protagonist in the movie, how he thinks about adding these kind of Catholic elements, and the guy's like, "Oh, well, what does it mean?" It's kind of that's Fellini adding it into the movie, 8.5.
I 100% believe that's the case when you say that. I think that's probably what it is meant to be, but I just think that doesn't really do anything for me though as an idea, to kind of go that level of meta, to indicate that me introducing a story element not having a purpose, it's just the character doing that is just me doing it right now, It's just kind of I don't really think or feel that adds anything to the movie. It's just kind of I don't know, it's kind of strange.
I think it kind of works because it's about filmmaking itself, and so it's kind of like going through his process and like what means what you should add in, and so I don't know. It's kind of a commentary on that, I guess.
Yeah, I I love how meta it is. Like it's so meta that it's it's like like I don't think I was saying something that is quite that meta. I think that's what kind of made me appreciate it, because the thing is, like, the film's meant to be a comedy, but like I never really laughed. I never really felt it was a comedy, but like it was that idea of it being so meta. Like I think that was one of like the things that got me smiling.
Well, yeah, in relation to that, trivia time, Federico Fellini attached a note to himself below the camera eyepiece, which read, "Remember, this is a comedy." This is a trivia fact that I don't know how or why, but I knew this somehow. I didn't even think it was about this movie, but I knew a director at some point did that about something. That's kind of I don't even know how I knew that, but I don't know. I don't really get that. So, do you think he's actually trying to make a comedy literally, or is it kind of more nuanced than that?
I think it means it's a comedy in the sense of Dante's Inferno is a comedy, it's or that like Shakespeare's plays are either tragedies or comedies in that sense. Not so much, oh, here's a joke, haha, laugh, but it's it's kind of, it has those elements.
I don't know, what's the best way, because I know exactly what you mean, but what's the best way to describe that?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's kind of ironic, I guess, in a way, maybe.
Yeah, that's why I provided examples, because I don't know how to explain it.
I think like Shakespeare's comedy is, some of them are kind of comedy in that sense of the word. It's kind of like trivial things are happening, like what's that called, like Much Ado About Nothing or whatever. But
I guess you kind of also get comedic elements in like the absurdism of like the dreams, because like with that like harem sequence, it is meant to be played for laughs a bit, and same with some of like his childhood, like when he's dancing with Sangari or whatever her name is. It is meant to be that bit of lighthearted. So yeah.
My personal reaction to that scene was, I was watching that and my mouth was just slightly agape with confusion. That's my reaction. I was just like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, I didn't realize she was a prostitute until like much later. Like that's what she was.
Oh no. Yeah. No, I didn't either. Oh god, what? I had a transition in mind. You used absurdity, right? You said that word?
Yeah.
Speaking of absurd, nailed it. Often cited by Federico Fellini himself as one of his favourite films ever, even considering other directors' works. Good on you, Federico,
I kind of see that, like, it's because like you kind of see that arrogance reflected in Guido. So like, that kind of works for me. That he's so arrogant that he loves his own films.
It's so funny. That's just bizarre. But I know what you mean. Yeah, no, it is reflected in the character though. Yeah. Oh god.
How'd you feel about the character of Guido though? Because like I quite liked him. He was this despite all his flaws, he was this like suave character, and like like this. I think his portrayal was favorable. Like, how did you guys feel?
I don't know. I thought he was alright, but like I didn't like him at times. But then again, there's literally a line in the movie where they reference a character that's going to be in his movie. That's like, oh, this guy's unlikable, and then the Guido's like, oh, you didn't think I haven't thought of that or whatever. So it's like, I'm hesitant to to critique any character flaws because I think it's intentional and it's pointing out in the movie. But yeah, no, for the most part, I thought it was okay anyway.
Yeah, it didn't really do anything for me, honestly. I just kind of the whole time, I don't know. I feel like I'm just watching him have this kind of mental breakdown, and that's fine, I guess. But I wasn't sympathetic to him in any way. I didn't really care about him in any way. So I was just kind of like hoping he'd just get over it and hurry up. I'm destined to be a therapist, aren't I?
Yeah.
What if that's the point, though, Zach?
Oh Jesus! I mean, look, like, I don't know, like, if it's the point, and this applies, to tons of different circumstances in movies, but like, I don't really, for me, that doesn't really elevate a thing. Like, if it's the point, okay, cool, that if I already like it, that's like a cool thing to know and consider. It's a cool, I guess, discussion point to kind of think about and go to that level of depth in the movie, but that doesn't really enhance anything in a movie. To say an element that I either like or don't like already, and just say it's the point. I'm like, okay, it doesn't really make me appreciate it, I guess.
One thing I think it was from reading Roger Ebert talk about it. Did you guys feel like there was quite often it'd go for this style over substance type of thing?
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the point, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's what, because I got this quote from Ebert saying that a filmmaker who prefers ideas to images will never advance above the second rank because he's fighting the nature of his art. The printed word is ideal for ideas. Film is made for images, and images are best when they are free to evoke many associations and are not linked to narrowly defined purposes. And like, not only does that, like, I think that's such a brilliant quote regarding just cinema in general, but it applies to this film so well, and like to so many other films that people criticize for lack of lack of ideas or lack of happenings. Often with a visual medium, that's not always the intention.
Well, Fitzy, when you say you think that's kind of the point, do you mean in the way that kind of just plays into the character's own struggle for finding substance in his movie.
Yeah, and at one point you're kind of, when he's talking to that, what's that lady we were talking about earlier, who kind of appears occasionally? Claudia, yeah. She kind of confronts him about the lack of sympathy that the audience will have for the character, and then he's kind of like, "Oh, you don't think I haven't thought of that, or whatever," and he says something. So,
if that is intentional, which I agree with, it probably is. I don't really get the appeal of it. So the director's made a film. It's not about this, obviously, but the film is. He wants to suggest that films and stories don't have to have such deep substance and levels of themes and interesting ideas like that. And he does that by making a film that has no interesting ideas and themes.
well, I think that substance comes from like the stance of like a filmmaker trying to create substance. It's kind of about the creation of art in a way, like that process, and yeah.
This style of a substance thing kind of relates to his critics as well, because like I was reading that many people say that Fellini's earlier films that are kind of grounded in that traditional Italian style of neorealism, I think it was called, or whatever. They were better, and that when he started moving into this surrealist and this stylistic chapter of his career, it was kind of his downfall. But I think you look at it, and some of his films from that part are also really celebrated. So I think like La Dolce Vita and Eight Half and some other ones. But so I think like this ideas, this the style of a substance thing is also meant to be a thing about his critics.
Oh yeah, okay. I guess that adds something else to it. But do you guys know what I mean though when I say that it feels weird for any kind of artist to try and convey a point by just doing it? You know what I mean? Something doesn't have to be this way, so I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can make a film about, a camera pointing at a wall, and then for 2 hours, and then have a narration. Oh well, you might think that this film is pointless, but I'm making this film to point out that point or whatever, and
Yeah,
wouldn't
exactly.
actually add anything. But I don't know. I think it does work in this film a little bit because it kind of tells you about the process of filmmaking and like the process
Sure.
of trying to come up with substance and meaningful ideas in itself. But yeah, I see what you mean, I guess.
I think that kind of just derives back to what we often like the thing about it's just your interpretation. Like that's all I really think about something like that. Some people would derive so much meaning from it, and some would derive nothing. It just depends on who you are.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And in that way, it's actually not, because everyone knows the good old example of what is it? If you're an art gallery and you're looking at a piece of shit and people try and interpret it and all this shit, but it's just actually a piece of shit. That all those kind of analogies that people use when discussing art.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, this movie kind of not by any way comparing this movie to an actual piece of shit, but I'm just saying I feel like this movie kind of has those kind of vibes to it in the way of this is kind of a movie that that when put in front of some people, some of us can look at it and go, oh, this is interesting. This, I interpret it this way, I interpret it that way. And I kind of see it and just kind of see okay, it's just the story of what it is. Not to say any one of us are right or anything, but I just kind of, I don't know, I guess the fact that analogy in any way comes to my head leaves me with a bit of a bad taste in my mouth.
I was going to ask, like, just in it, like, did you guys get that twist scene in this film is what inspired the twist in Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, I saw that, but I thought that 8.5 was itself referencing La Dolce Vita. But maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, does it? Okay, right.
Oh, I don't know, but yeah, I do see what you mean.
What twist in Pulp Fiction are you talking about?
The dance twist with
where Mia and Vincent are at that like place.
Yeah.
Oh, Got it. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're actually talking about like a literal twist.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I thought you were
Because,
talking about
like,
like a plot twist.
even the character in this film that does it, like the female, I can't remember her name. Like she it does resemble Mia Wallace, like Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction. So
Yeah, that's true. It does. That's cool. Time to give 8.5 a score out of 10. I'll be giving it an 8.5 out of 10. No, sorry, that was terrible. Jane, what are you giving it?
well, it's funny because like I genuinely like feel around because I've been tossing up between an 8 and a 9. I think I am going to give it that 9 because it is like kind of that thing of where I love everything about it, and plus it gives me that little bit of feeling afterwards. You know, we were talking about last week about how that film has to like give you that like certain feeling inside.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I get from this film. So I think I'm going to give it a 9.
Well, I'm gonna defy your authority again, Zach, and use my 5-star rating system from Letterboxd. I'm gonna
It's
give
the
it
same thing though.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I've just gotten used to Letterboxd. I like using it, I guess. But anyway, I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. Yeah, I think I don't know. I was very bored by a lot of the filmmaking stuff, but interested in a lot of the dream sequences, the relationship stuff. I thought the meta stuff was kind of interesting at times. So yeah.
Are you officially, just out of curiosity, are you officially requesting that we change our review scale to stars instead of out of 10?
Well, you guys don't have to. I'm probably gonna.
But
I
no,
feel like
we
need
did have some.
uniform,
Absolutely, we can't be using different scales between us.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, I reckon it does. It's
I
a bit
don't
odd. I introduced a segment as let's reveal our score out of 10.
Zach, just dub in your voice afterwards.
Yeah, I will actually.
I don't know. I recognize your authority, so kind of goes that way.
All right. Well, if you do it again, I might have to consider actually officially changing it. You know.
But then I'll be the one to defy.
Oh shit! God. God
Just
damn it.
let me be a contrarian. God damn it.
I'm going to give the movie a 4 out of 10. There you go.
Oof.
It's not a terrible movie. It's a competently made movie, but it's a movie that tells a story that is so uninteresting to me, and it's a movie I definitely never want to watch again. So yeah, 2 stars, 2 out of 5 in your beautiful scale. All right, let's get into our news chat segment. And first of all, we've got some, I think, a very interesting development based off kind of what we've been talking about basically over this entire show's lifetime. And that's the fact that this week the Academy has temporarily loosened rules to allow straight to streaming films and straight to VOD films to be eligible for Academy Awards next year. So maybe things won't be quite as dead as they were going to be. Still more dead than they normally are, but
yeah, I think these days, there's like kind of this, I think like directors are kind of like reviving this ideal of watching things at the cinemas and shooting on film, and bigger is better, like kind of thing. Like Nolan, Edgar Wright, Wes Anderson, they all kind of follow this see it at the cinema type thing. So I think like even though they are allowing these things like straight these VOD launches, like it'd be great for indie films, but like I think like a lot of big productions that still like prefer these type of big large format, they're still going to hold out on their releases.
Yeah, I agree with that. I guess really, again with us still not knowing when cinemas are going to reopen, but I guess really all this does is ensures that some more probably not heavy hitters or anything, but the Oscars won't be quite as barren as we thought they were going to be. There is still going to be at least some variety in selection, I guess, for these categories or whatever.
If Marvel plays their cards right and just releases all their new films now, Marvel might saturate the Oscars.
That's right.
What a terrible year that'd be.
Well, I'm just interested in what the hell we're going to be doing for our top movies of 2020. It's not a lot.
Birds of Prey.
Oh god. Next up, Star Wars news. Hey, I'm not going to refuse it. The Cassian Andor Disney Plus series that no one gives a shit about. The showrunner for it has been replaced, making this the 280th time officially that Kathleen Kennedy has replaced a leader of a Star Wars project. and we learnt that it takes place officially. This is a bit more, if you're hardcore like me, takes place 5 years before Rogue One. So yeah, there you go. Is there a single Star Wars project at Lucasfilm currently that is able to maintain its leadership? Come on, you guys were hyped for Cassian Andor, weren't you?
No.
What's that?
The show.
Cassie, I didn't hear that.
Cassian Andor. It's based on the Diego Luna's character in Rogue One.
Oh right, I didn't know about that.
Oh, okay. My apologies. Yes, that's a Disney Plus prequel show that is occurring, and it's definitely one of the weirder ones they chose to do. Probably the weirdest. Like, who wants this? I don't know.
Yeah, because I love Rogue One, but
Yeah.
it's not because of Diego Luna. I mean, I like it for pretty much every other reason. There's nothing wrong with him. He's fine, but
Yeah, I like Diego Luna.
For the reason that I love the film, it's he's not one of them. So
Yeah, it was just it's weird for multiple reasons. It's weird for that reason, like who really connects with that character. It's because we don't really have time to, but
yeah.
And it's also weird because the fact that Rogue One, which in itself is like a spin-off prequel, is getting a spin-off prequel, and then will that get a spin-off prequel? It's like it's a bit much.
Yeah, it's hard for me to get behind Star Wars on the silver screen, other than animated.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I personally think the animated shows have been highlights compared to the only one season of Mandalorian. But yeah. Next up, you made me aware of this, Jalen. The IMAX CEO dude, whatever his name is. Do you know his name?
I did before, but I've lost it.
Never. No, it's all good. Who gives a shit? Says that Christopher Nolan is determined with Tenet to basically be the film that reopens theaters. To be when theaters reopen, who knows when. He wants Tenet to be the film that people are going to see. Which, hey, if theaters are opening, in the next few months, that's gonna happen. But it's just whether or not that is going to happen at all. Yeah. Who knows if they're going to reopen?
Moses.
What was that, Liam?
It's like Moses splitting open the Red Sea.
Jane, am I dumb or are you confused?
No, I'm getting it. It's just not very funny.
Oh, okay.
It's not a joke. It's just a comparison.
Yeah, it's just how Moses opened the seas. Nolan's going to open the cinemas. I guess
that was literally it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, jeez.
I mean, I hope it happens. I hope I can see Tenet in July, man. I don't give a shit if I get infected. I just said it.
Well, I mean, down here in Australia, I think if he's willing to do a release down here before America, it might happen because our cases are. I mean, at the moment they're kind of not doing too well, but in terms of the rest of the world, we're doing all right.
Are we? Oh God, I don't want to get into this too much, but are we? Isn't it just relative? Isn't the world kind of similar?
No, but because I heard this week that ScoMo is looking at they're talking to Arden about opening a trans-Tasman hub of travel between. So I feel if that's if that's on the road, maybe we'll be all right.
I don't see them only playing it in some regions like ours and not at the US. I don't really see that happening.
No, you don't see a staggered release where Australia finally gets a good film for once.
No, I really don't.
I don't give a shit that we get Avengers 2 days before America. I want to see fucking Tenet 3 months beforehand.
Hell yeah. I mean, I would too. I don't know. I don't see that happening. But let's do some kind of rapid fire stories. Not that the other stories have been super long, but you know what I mean. Let's just jump through some more stories. Now You See Me 3 is in the works, and Jane, you like this series?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying before the show, it's light-hearted cinema. You don't have to pay attention to it, too much. You don't have to dissect it. So it's just, they're good watches. I think number 2 was hurt by the casting of Lizzie Kaplan because she's a bit of a, she doesn't suit well with the rest of the cast and feel. But I'll still get behind number 3.
You've honestly, I haven't really heard anything about these movies other than the fact they exist, and you telling me and describing them in that way, honestly, makes me interested. I'm like, yo, just some weird magician heist movie.
Yeah, well, that's all it is. It's pretty sick. It's like Inception with fucking magic tricks.
Yo, you just, dude, I'm on board. I'm checking these movies out. I'm stoked for them now. That's cool.
You're gonna come back next week and say they're out of shit.
Hey, yeah, they'll probably be on what I've been watching at some point in the future. Yeah, you're probably right. Oh, yeah, I might hate them. Anyway, here's a little fun one for you guys. We all, of course, know the trials and tribulations that have been occurring between Sony and Marvel, and how Sony has its own Spider-Man universe that is not in the MCU, but actually is, but actually isn't. So isn't that awesome? And this universe now has a name. Do you guys want to hear this really catchy name that this weird, demented Spider-Man universe has?
Yeah, hit me with it.
It's called the Sony Pictures Universe of Marvel Characters. What do they give that an acronym? The SPUMC. I guess. I'm so done, dude. What? Oh god. So this universe, of course, includes Venom, such amazing characters as Venom, Morbius, and maybe Tom Holland, but who actually knows? Because of course, as we all know, Vulture was in the Morbius trailer, you know, getting some people excited and leaving the rest of us with just the most confused reaction ever.
Tom Holland is like the child of a divorce. You've got mommy and daddy pulling on each side, and you just don't know which way it's going to go.
That's so accurate, though. Oh god, dude, this whole thing is messed up. So what I've kind of been, I just want to talk about this because I find it hilarious. What I've been able to gather so far is that there's this weird, the whole deals with these companies bizarre, but there's this thing where basically Venom, Morbius, and these characters, exist in the Tom Holland, obviously as Tom Holland exists in the MCU. But then it's this weird thing where it doesn't go the other way. But the MCU characters don't exist in the Sony universe. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like, what? Doesn't make any sense. Finally, Jane, you've got a story regarding this new film, Black Glass, and Daft Punk coming out of whatever retirement or whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
Can you enlighten us a bit on this?
Well, I mean, this is, massive news for both film and music. Probably more for music, to be honest. But, so Daft Punk haven't released an individual record since 2013. They've produced a few tracks for The Weeknd, but that's it. So it was announced this week that they will be coming back to score Black Glass, which is Dario Argento's new film. And while his name's not, doesn't drag a lot of attention these days, he was really popular back in the 70s and 80s for these kind of psychotronic horrors such as, Suspiria and Tenet and Inferno. They're kind of like his three biggest films. And they are really, really great films. They're these, he kind of birthed the Italian, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, it's Gaio genre, I think it's called. Where it's kind of these hack and slash films. But, these kind of really, Italian hack and slash. So, I mean, they're really great films.
Like a dope genre.
Yeah. So, yeah, it this is massive for certain people.
Yeah, cool. Well, is Daft Punk? Daft Punk? I stuffed that up. Are they known for scoring films? Because this seems kind of weird.
They did the Tron Legacy soundtrack, which is one of the best soundtracks ever, but it was completely overlooked because it's electronic. So yeah. So this is cool. I mean, because I love the Tron Legacy soundtrack; it's really brilliant, and knowing Argento's work, you can tell that they should meld together well, because they do. Hopefully, the two will gel together. And Argento said that Daft Punk are admirers of his work, so hopefully this is a good collaboration.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, it sounds pretty cool to me. Even though, is this like a wide release film?
Should be. I mean, because
cool.
I think Argento's recent films, from the 2000s, they didn't perform the best critically or box office wise, but I think people are kind of hoping for a revival of his 80s days. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this will get a wide release.
Cool. All right, we'll definitely be keeping an eye on it.
Wait, Zach, I just realized something that I have to confront you about.
Okay. Oh God, I'm scared.
So you gave 8.5 a 4, right?
Oh, all right. Here we go. Yeah. Okay.
You gave The Phantom Menace a 5.
I did.
This means you are stating Phantom Menace is a better film than 8.5. Do you agree with this?
Now there are multiple things to this. First of all, yes, Phantom Menace is a better film than 8.5. Just want to throw that out there. Sorry. But hang on. But with that aside, though, hey, scores are not easily comparable to one another. I just want to make that clear. Scores are not definitive conclusions. Of course, all scores are summaries of one's thoughts on a movie. So, but in this particular circumstance, to answer your question, yes.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry you have to accept that.
We really don't, but okay.
Hey, I mean, I'd much rather watch The Phantom Menace. I'd watch The Phantom Menace 20 more times before I ever watch that movie again.
Really?
All right, so what have we been watching recently? Fitzy, yo.
I saw a lot of stuff this week. I'll just mention a couple. A couple 5 stars that I gave out. The Nice Guys, which I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, but like it just, I don't know. We constantly praise different films, their realism and their having realistic characters and all that, and like something. This, I feel like Nice Guys just has that. It has that extra level of like just characters that I could say that I could feel like I could meet in real life. I could say my neighbors or whatever. Like with Marriage Story last year, that was like a film that I really loved, and that was one of its biggest, one of its best elements were the kind of, the characters which felt so real. But I still wouldn't say that, I feel like I could meet them. But with The Nice Guys, I feel like it just has that extra level of achievement on that front, and the comedy, which is hilarious in the movie, just comes like so naturally from their characters. It doesn't feel like they're trying to make jokes. It's just so great. But
yeah.
Can you believe it's directed by the guy that did Iron Man 3 and The Predator?
Iron Man 3 wasn't that bad, I don't think.
Yeah,
it's surprising.
Iron Man 3 is not that bad, but it's surprising from him.
Yeah, for sure. And I saw Alien, which is just so great. It's like everything is just, every element is just firing in all cylinders in that movie. I guess the third act is just so crazy and intense. I love all the freaking tracking shots and the lighting, the atmosphere, the alien design. That was an incredible movie. And then the Witch I saw just yesterday, and like I'm not the biggest fan of horror, but I've seen The Exorcist I love. I like The Shining I love. The Thing is great, but The Witch is like definitely the best horror movie I think I've ever seen. It's just such a like thick and eerie, dark atmosphere, and
visually dense.
Visually dense. Just
so much going on in every frame.
Yeah. I don't know, beautiful cinematography. There's so much to like. It just has such an atmosphere. It's crazy, and the last 15 minutes are just some of the best shit ever. But I love that. And for people who just have Netflix, Princess Mononoke, I would recommend that as well. I saw that this week. Great animated film, very emotional and epic. Very themes of man versus nature, and like complex themes of man versus nature and environmentalism. Not just, it doesn't feel like forced or ham-fisted. So anyone who hasn't seen that, that's a good Studio Ghibli film. What about you guys?
Cool. I'm excited to do the Alien franchise thing eventually, eh? I feel like that's a good one.
It is, apart from Alien 4, which is arse.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to it. But is it worse than 8.5? No, sorry. You go, Jade.
I've had a comparatively quiet week. Watched a bit more Community. I watched the series. Actually, I say quiet week, but it's because The Thick of It, which is a series I watched, consumed most of the week. It's this British comedy that follows like the day to day of an MP of a fictional department called the Department of Social Affairs and Citizenship, and it is just so bloody funny. I like it's kind of like the Australian series Utopia. Have you guys seen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but like way more vulgar and funnier.
Oh, right.
And like it's really brilliant because it's not just a bunch of guys just swearing like nonstop. It's inventive and like creative, and like the way that like it all just flows and the shit they say and like what actually happens in the film, like not film, sorry, in the series is just really brilliant. It actually has a spin-off film called In the Loop, which stars James Gandolfini actually. So I know you'll get behind that.
Hell yeah.
And then I also watched These Final Hours, which was it's good because it's rare that you see a pre-apocalypse film set in Australia. I mean, other than Mad Max. So you kind of get this. It's a unique story to tell in the Australian landscape, I feel, and it's set in Perth. So once again, it is that bit different from the west, the eastern scenery of Mad Max. And it's really good. I mean, like it is rather cliched, and it does follow a few tropes, but I think it's fresh enough, and like it's written well enough to to let some of those things pass.
Movie wise, I watched The Gentleman, which I know you really like, Jane, and I thought it was awesome. It was awesome. Just so enjoyable, man. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Well, that surprised me because you don't like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, do you?
Well, I know. It didn't connect with me when I watched it at all. I didn't really find it that funny, honestly, and I didn't really enjoy it. And honestly, watching The Gentleman, because I didn't have high expectations for that reason, it makes me think maybe was I in like a weird mood when I was watching Lock, Stock or something? Was I? What kind of headspace was I in? I don't know.
Well, have you seen Snatch? Is my next question.
No, but it's next on my radar.
That's so fucking brilliant. Like that's like one of my favorite comedies ever. It's like one of my favorite films ever, rather. And like that Guy Ritchie like sense of comedy is just brilliant.
Hey, I mean, if Snatch is anything like The Gentleman, I'm in. I'm so in.
It's more Lock, Stock than The Gentleman.
Yeah, dude, I'm definitely gonna watch it 100%. I don't know. I'm honestly, how much I liked The Gentleman confused me on Lock, Stock. I was like, what was I thinking? Like, am I misremembering Lock, Stock? I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, no, The Gentleman was awesome. I enjoyed the shit out of it. Maybe it's got something to do with it just being more modern. It connects with me more in some. I've got no idea, but I feel like there's an answer there. Is all I'm trying to say. There's a reason. I don't know what it is, but I've got to find it. I've got to dig deep within myself. God damn it. What else I watched? I watched Onward. I've been saying I was going to watch it over the last few weeks. I did, and God, it was awesome, man. I loved it so much, and it exceeded my expectations. I honestly didn't really have high expectations. I was like, oh, another Pixar movie. I'm totally going to watch a Pixar movie, of course. And it's on Disney Plus. Cool, I'll check it out. Loved it. So yeah, there's that.
What did you love about it?
Oh, I just thought the story and the characters just resonated so much with me, honestly. And I hate to play I don't want to play the like you wouldn't get it card because I think it's kind of stupid when people do this, but I guess I'm going to do it. Like, I feel like having a brother elevates the movie to a ridiculous extent. I totally understand why people would think it's kind of okay if you haven't got a brother. That's all I'll say, because and if you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. It's just that's what the story really centers around, and it just hit me really hard at certain points. So,
Guess I'll have to get a brother then. I can enjoy it more.
Go and find one on the street, Fitzy. Hurry up.
Yeah.
It stars Tom Holland and Chris Pratt. Is that right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Anyway, shows. We started, and I think we're going to finish it very soon. So I might have more thoughts next week. But Escape at Dannemora. Have you guys heard of this?
No.
This is a Showtime show with starring, of course, as the leads Benicio del Toro and Paul Dano. The show is directed by Ben Stiller, so we got everyone and their mum making this thing, and it's just it's this prison escape series, basically. There's only 7 episodes. There's only one season. It's just this mini series. And I feel like who's involved. Like, I feel like more people should know about it, but I didn't really know anything about it either. But watching it really feels like a top tier, like high budget thing. You know, like a real big deal production. But yeah, so I'm surprised people haven't heard of it. But anyway, I think it's really average at the moment, and I'm really surprised that these high caliber actors signed on to this, to be honest, so far. But we're almost done with it, so I'll finish it next week and we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll change my mind. And then, other than that, it was just the new Clone Wars episode last night. We've got the finale on Monday. After all these years, it's an interesting feeling.
How did you feel about Clone Wars last night? Because it was a more subdued episode compared to the previous 2 Mandalore arcs, but I still think it stood up to like the previous 2. I thought it was brilliant.
Oh, I loved it. It. Yeah. I thought it was the weakest of the 3 we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, but like, only very slightly.
Yeah. No. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, you know, the first. You know, I don't have to say. I don't have to go into any specifics at all, Jaden. Obviously, but you know, the first half is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I feel like it kind of peters out in the second half.
That's pretty much how I felt as well.
Yeah. The score was amazing, just building the tension to what we all know is going to happen, and it happened.
The way that it
was
manages to like maintain that somber tone the entire time, despite everything that happens, is really like, because even like when things do kick up a notch, it still keeps that, you know, that brooding sense, and like that's what really, I think that's what like elevated it for me, you know.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
Like, I think it's with the score that it kind of managed to like maintain that. And like, I thought last night was really brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. The way the music in the first 10 minutes, the way the music was building the entire time. Well, not even building; it was just there. It was just always present.
Yeah,
and it just left me so uneasy. It was awesome.
So the finale, that's going to be like the absolute finale of Clone Wars, not another season or anything.
The series finale, indeed. Yes.
Until they do a spin-off series, because that's what Kennedy's just fucking pumping out at the moment. Just anything Star Wars.
But yes, no, the Clone Wars series finale is on Monday. We've got 1 episode. Hopefully it's half an hour long. I don't want it. I don't know if I can bear only 20 more minutes of this entire show of hundreds of episodes. But yeah,
having this Mandalore arc now, it annoys me that we spent so long on the Martinez arc, because like I would have much preferred something akin to this to the Mandalore one than to, you know, that. Like, you could have easily chopped, like, you know, 1 or 2 episodes from the sisters arc and chucked them onto this type of thing.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know what they would have done. Like
I'm not saying like necessarily has to be like, you know, another 2 episodes of Mandalore. I'm just saying like another 2 episodes similar in you know, like similar to what Mandalore is.
Yeah. No, I get it. I don't know. I mean, I agree the Marte sisters arc was kind of whatever, but I don't know. I think it's fine. I think really at the end of the day, I don't know. I see people kind of getting upset, and I don't want to sound like I don't want to sound like a dickhead or anything, but I kind of feel like, guys, this show was cancelled for years, and we're getting a final season, and we're still complaining. Like, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. As well, I feel like we should kind of just be like, let's just take what we can get. You know, This show was never coming back. I would love more of this, but I don't think we're getting it. Anyway, it's awesome. Let's get into our listener submitted answers. Nailed it for last week's question.
Yeah.
Good for me. First of all, Henry wrote into us and said, "Oh God, I forgot again."
What's the
question? The question last week was, "Why am I doing this, guys? You should do it." The question that I asked last week was, "What's your favorite movie sequel of all time?" Of course. And Henry wrote into us and said, "My favorite sequel of all time is Blade Runner 2049. It basically just improves upon every aspect of the original Blade Runner, including the pacing, even though it's about 40 minutes longer." I completely agree, which was the main problem I had with the original. Also, obviously, it looks beautiful, absolutely beautiful, owing mainly to Roger Deakins' fantastic cinematography, and sounds beautiful thanks to Hans Zimmer's soundtrack. Hell yeah. That's basically like, that's like the definitive choice. You know, I feel like we should just wrap the show up and not even read the others.
Nah.
Oh, God. Paul wrote into us and said, Terminator 2, in the opening scenes, you were a little unsure if Arnie was a goodie or a baddie. And I must say, I wish I had this experience that Paul had, because that's something that so many people talk about with Terminator 2, is that the twist that Arnie's the good guy in the movie was, like, shocking. And I've just never experienced that. Couldn't even comprehend that, just because it's such, baseline knowledge, to anyone in pop culture.
How do you feel about T2 like in generally? Because I personally always felt that the first Terminator was stronger.
It's been too long since I've seen Terminator 2, but I did the first one is really good. I lean towards agreeing with you, but I don't know. I'd have to watch 2 again. Yeah, Terminator. The first one, sorry, is really good for sure. Thanks for writing in, Paul and Henry. Luke wrote into us and said, The Dark Knight. If not for the fact it is a great film, great theme. I mean, here we go, guys. I mean, 4 French horns on the right, 4 French horns on the left, and they are up in a gallery up way above the orchestra. 2 notes. God damn it, Luke, you broke me. 2 notes, but the amount of expressiveness you can put into them. Thank you, Luke. This show, man. This show. Honestly. Oh, we appreciate you, Luke. God bless anyone out there who gets it. I'm sure there's people out there who get it, but anyway. There's so many people that are so confused right now, probably. What are our favourite sequels of all time? I was about to go to the outro, but then I realised, shit, actually, we've got to answer this crap.
This crap.
This question we said. Jane, what's your favourite sequel?
Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I think it's without a doubt, masterpiece.
Tremendous, yeah.
I agree with Hannah's about 2049. I mean, he summed it up pretty well. But because that's already taken, I'll say that the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes in the Planet of the Apes reboot, they're really spectacular. So I guess I'll go with them.
Awesome. I really want to watch those. I've never seen them.
With War for the Planet of the Apes, the tension that's built in the first scene is phenomenal. Like really, really crazy.
God, that's another good franchise one. I'm excited. What about you, Fitzy?
Probably Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. It's just it's just as good as the first one, but it has a darker tone. It's got way more. It's got character development than the first one. It's got some of the best moments of the entire series with Gandalf coming to save the at the Helm's Deep and just Helm's Deep in general, and Sam's speech. It's it's probably my favorite.
Cool. I choose The Empire Strikes Back because, of course, I did.
Boo.
Just an amazing movie. I mean, it's my favorite movie of all time, so therefore it's my favorite sequel of all time, isn't it? It is the perfect second act to a story. That's just what it is. It just challenges a story that challenges your characters, pushes them in interesting directions, develops them in interesting ways, and of course, amazing score, amazing action, just amazing moments. There you go. Nothing else to say.
I never felt that way about Empire Strikes Back though. It just doesn't make. I don't understand this feeling that everyone has for it. Like rewatching it this time, I've appreciated it more, but I still don't think it's better than A New Hope or Return for that fact.
If you could see my face, no.
Fitzy, be the tiebreaker here. Which one's better, the first or the second?
No, he's gonna say.
Personally, I like A New Hope better, but
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you dislike anything about Empire, Jane? Just curious.
Oh, it's not that I dislike anything about it. It's just that I feel like A New Hope is a stronger film. I think that Empire it plateaus, and it doesn't really in terms of the rising tension and action. It levels out, and I don't feel like it ever really escalates too much again until the final duel.
I can see what you mean. I find everything in the second act super interesting, but I don't disagree. Well, I do disagree, but I mean, I know what you mean, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, well, guys, we made it. We did it. We persevered to the end. Good for us. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into Cinema Effect this week. We appreciate your company. Jaden, I mean Liam, who does it? Yeah,
It's
Liam
you.
does it. What are we watching next week?
We're doing Westworld, right? That's
Can
on
confirm.
Foxtel. If you want to catch up on 3 seasons that you haven't watched yet, you can do that.
Yes, we're sorry to alienate some of you, but we're doing Westworld season 3, 8 episodes of the show, and yeah, as Fitzy said, sorry if you haven't seen any of it. No one's going to watch the whole thing just to listen to us next week.
Yeah,
not a soul. But hey, the option exists there for you if you're crazy enough.
We'll pay you $10 if you do.
Oh, definitely. I'm not. You can. And I will also slightly alter the way in which we do the discussion next week, just to account for the fact that it's a TV show, and I feel like it's kind of trash if the whole episode is we're spoiler talking the whole time, and it kind of doesn't leave a lot of the episode left for everyone else. Although, if we ramble on about news and the rest, maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. So we're going to do a non-spoiler and spoiler section.
We will indeed.
Nice.
Isn't that cool? You can find all our social media links and Letterboxd fun stuff, as always, in the description on the YouTube page, YouTube video. Guys, Liam, Jaden, thank you very much for joining me this week, as always.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll see you all next time. Have a great rest of your week, and goodbye.